All right, good evening, everyone. I would like to call this regular meeting of the North Branford Conservation and Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency to order. Again, this meeting on Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. It's approximately 6:31 p.m. First thing I'd like to do is roll call of everyone seated. We have regular members Bob Whitworth, Jerry Fishbeck, and Frank Pagano. We have our town planner and wetlands administrator, David Perkins. I'm Steve Scavo. I'm chairman for this evening's meeting. Next item, we'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we can move to item 3, which would be the minutes of March 27th, 2024. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at them? I think they got sent out. I don't know if you
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve.
All right.
The minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The minutes from March 27th, 2024 have been approved.
Who's seconded?
Next, we're going to move on to old business. I don't see anything here unless you have anything, David, or we can move on to, okay, then we'll move on to item 5, new business, which is jurisdictional ruling, 2222 Clintonville Road, removal of dead trees and removal of brush and invasive plants. Applicant James Donovan, owner Gail Monaco.
So, Jim and Gail live at 222 Clintonville Road. They have a pond on their property. There are a lot of dead trees that have fallen on the side of the pond and into the pond. The pond also has a bunch of invasive plants growing on the banks of it. What they'd like to do is to remove the trees and cut the invasive bushes and plants, leaving the trees on the banks, but not the invasives. I think I sent you some pictures.
Yeah, they were very good because they showed everything.
And Jim and Gail are here. I've met Jim out at the property, I think 3 times.
Okay.
The last time with a contractor that he'd like to hire. And so I spoke with the contractor, and he will get as close as he can to the banks without getting into the water. He'll use all the normal equipment if he gets into any wet areas, but there's no concept here really of doing any filling or withdrawing of soil from the site. They may do a little bit of work in the pond to get rid of some of the cattails and some of the mud in the pond, but that would be the extent of any stuff that they would do that would require a permit. And I'll turn it over to Jim and see if I missed anything.
I think you covered everything.
Sure. You just mentioned your name, Jim, for the record, just to say, it's okay. We
Donovan, and this is Gail Monaco.
Perfect. Yeah.
And, like Dave said, that's what we would like to do. It was a man-made pond back in the 50s. And there's like 3 acres back there, and it's all woods, brush, poison ivy.
Yeah.
And you really couldn't even walk down to the pond. The ducks don't come in no more. And, we have frogs there and turtles. And we'd like to just bring it back to the way it was back in the 50s and 60s. We used to go ice skating in the winter time, and the grandkids would love to do that. And it would just be nice to have the pond back and be able to walk down and see it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking from the pictures that David sent, it looks like a lovely little pond, like you said, but you can see as long as, just speaking for myself, the other members, but as long as your intent, just basically like David said, just to clear the phragmites or whatever else is around the logs, the brush, as long as you try to stay out of the pond itself. Obviously, you don't want to ruin it, you want to improve it. So that's really our big concern, but I don't have any really issues with it.
Hasn't, over the years, hasn't the pond somewhat filled in? Isn't it much more shallow today than originally?
With all like a year or 2 ago, it was very shallow, but we've had so much rain that it's back to an ice skating ring again almost,
All right, so you don't feel the need at this point to dredge it at all? I mean, I'm just thinking the lake near my house.
If we're gonna do, yeah, I was thinking of, we were thinking of having it dredged out so it would be able to hold more water. I don't know how much more involved it would be.
Yeah.
To dredge it out.
We have done that, might improve the quality of the pond. My question is, and I think David answered this question, but there's really no inlet or outlet to worry about. It's not like any disturbance is going to send silt down or up,
No.
It's pretty much a standing,
It's a pond.
it's naturally there.
And, from where the pond is, down to 22 is wetlands.
Right.
And it's runoff from the pond, but years ago, the pond was all blocked up. But there is some water that.
Oh, natural, when it rains, I assume, but there's not like an active stream
No.
going in or out. It's not
No.
like, right, it's just, it sheets probably, when it fills with rainwater, it obviously probably filters through the wetland, which is
Yes.
adjacent to it then.
Yeah.
Which is
Yes.
a good thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it runs downhill from.
Gotcha, it's just-
Park right to Route 22. But, to answer your question, possibly dredging it out, we would have to see, what type of permit would be required, how much it would be. And, it's really hard to even see the pond right now. You really can't.
So maybe the first step would be to do what you're proposing, clean it out,
Clean
get a
up,
look
so-
at it,
so-
and then maybe you could always come back to us and, we could work with you on that. You could work with David, obviously, and,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, ponds will
naturally.
naturally fill themselves in over time. The dead vegetation, it rots in the pond, and so on and so forth. On my own property, we had a pond. It was a very long time ago, the place I used to go to, and it was deep enough that there were turtles and frogs and everything. And now it's just basically inches of standing water. It's virtually gone.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah.
honestly, that pond's been there since the 50s.
Uh,
And it's still, it's just like it was back then right now with all the rain
Yeah.
we've had. And it's never went down to nothing.
Okay, yeah, ours was there since,
You could never see it.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk up to the top of the hill and used to be able to walk down or go ice skating or,
sure.
Yeah.
but we haven't been able to do that in years. It was just poison ivy and sumac and everything else just grown on the whole side of, where we would like to clear it out so we'd be able to,
Sure.
go ice skating or whatever again. And, all that, what's that stuff called, Dave, that green?
Phragmites?
Yeah, it's just loaded the whole side. That's gotta come out of there,
Yeah, it's definitely an invasive. It'll just keep spreading and fill up the whole
Yes.
pond soon, which
Right.
is,
Yeah.
which would destroy it.
Right, and as Jerry says, any pond needs maintenance. If you don't maintain it,
Right.
it doesn't last.
Right.
So I guess that sort of gets us to the question as to whether this is a maintenance or a regulated activity or a use as of right or whatever the commission deems it to be as what it is.
What's the last one you said, use as of what?
As of right,
What does that mean?
well, gardening and doing that sort of stuff is a use as of right.
I think it's a regulated activity.
Use as of right?
No, a regulated activity.
Oh, you think it's a regulated activity?
But I don't have any problem with what you're proposing.
I just think it needs an application to just so we know what's going on, but
did
which you
submit.
have, right?
Yeah.
So.
Right, we have an application.
Then I have no problem with it.
It's a motion.
Yeah, I think we're good with it.
I haven't requested a fee or anything else associated with it. It seems more like maintenance than a regulated activity because he's not, he may be pulling some stuff out of the pond that would be a regulated activity.
Yeah,
But
so what you're saying is it's a maintenance, so there would be no application and no fee.
there'd be an application, but there'd be no fee.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And then, again, down the line, after you get it all cleared out, and you may be totally satisfied with that, but if you
Right.
think you need to do some maintenance or doing, some digging the pond, then get back with David and we'll work that out. We've done these before, we'd rather see a pond, but one step at a time. So I think we're okay with what's being requested now. Does that sound good?
Yeah, we're reasonable. So
Sure.
what do you need?
Need
So
a
I think
motion?
you'd make a motion to determine that it's maintenance, and as such, it's a permitted use as of right and doesn't need a permit. But we have an application and we have pictures and everything else.
So I guess I'll make a motion then that the jurisdictional ruling for 222 Clintonville Road is a maintenance activity. Is that sufficient?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Frank's motion passes and we're good then.
Thank you very much.
You're
Yep,
welcome.
very welcome, good luck.
Yeah, I hope you get the ducks and the geese.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
they'll be
wildlife.
back. They'll be back for sure.
And hopefully get it ready for, winter, so maybe you can do some skating again.
My grandkids will love that.
Good, good.
How thick are the trees around the pond, the surrounding
They
area?
go all the way around the pond.
And are they tall? Are they tall trees now?
See, in the front, what we're gonna be doing now, we're not touching one tree. It's just all grown brush.
Right.
It doesn't allow you to get down and be able to see anything when you get
That
to the
may,
pond itself.
that may also be part of the reason why you're not seeing the waterfowl, the ducks and stuff coming in. Because once they're in, if the trees are so tall and there's not a long distance for takeoff,
Yeah,
they can't get out.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Just curious, how deep is the pond like in the middle?
Honestly,
More than a couple feet? I just out of curiosity, because
I would say it's probably a good 4 feet.
oh, well,
Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
that's
Yeah,
not bad.
I
That's,
would say a good
for
4 feet.
a pond in the middle of forest like that,
I mean, years ago, they used to swim in it, Gail and her family.
Yeah.
Used to swim in it, they had a little boat back there, and
oh, that's good.
they had, actually, the person next door, her brother and his wife, Janet had 32 ducks that went to that pond and had names for every one of them.
Oh, boy, so, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
funny.
wouldn't be able to remember 32 names.
Yeah, well, maybe you get some natural ones, you get some wild ones in there once you clear it out. That'd actually be nice. Good,
that'd be great.
very good.
Well, good luck
All
with
right,
that.
good luck, you're all set.
Okay, we'll invite you guys over for a barbecue and.
That's
In the pond.
Bring your rice cakes.
Bring your rice
That's
cake.
right. Hey, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Have-
Thank you.
Enjoy your summer.
You too.
All right, next item, we can move to item 6, which would be Wetland Enforcement Officer's Report. Oh,
I'll be talking to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll let you
thank
know.
you.
And you'll probably be-
I guess there's nothing else here.
Okay, that's a good time to do it.
Out of curiosity, I'm wondering what the fee would be.
It wouldn't be
I
much.
don't think it would be much. for something
Just
like
out of
that.
curiosity, Dave, what would the fee have been at?
It's so hard to figure out what the fee is, but the minimum fee's like $300. It depends on the square footage of
minimum
what they're
fee.
doing. And, if it's
Like-
de,
like
if it's
for a
de
shed.
minimis, it's like $50, but, it's difficult to interpret that fee schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, if one were putting a little 8x10 shed in their backyard for storage or something, it wouldn't be $300.
No,
No, okay.
Because you can define that, right, the size and everything. Is it by, the sheds go
It's
by
by-
size and everything, so, whereas this is kind of a,
Because,
well, the building fee's determined on the cost of the structure.
right, but in
Right,
this
right.
case, it was maintenance to property, but it said in the application 12,000 square feet.
Right.
But they're not necessarily,
Well, and that's not all wetlands, that's just the upland review area. So,
yeah.
I haven't, since I've been here, I haven't calculated a wetlands fee. But I know it looks like a daunting task.
unfortunately, we haven't any big projects where we really needed to do it yet, but probably they'll come eventually. As I speak, you might get,
People don't come to
Yeah,
us.
they'll be coming.
there'll be something will be coming. Well, that's all right, it gives us time to think about it, and obviously we can assist you in your interpretation if
Well, I
something
think
comes up.
I think you adjusted those fees
We did.
relatively recently too, right?
Right, because they were kind of far behind neighboring towns, so we just wanted to be, be reasonable, we didn't want.
All right.
So Frank did ask me a question relative to 368 Totoket Road, I think is the address.
Oh, the twin culverts, is that the one?
Subdivision and the culverts and what's going on over there. And so I did have a discussion with the DEEP, and I guess no work has really been happening for the last 6 months. They give Mr. DeLongo temporary authorization to go in and work for 90 days. Then he has to report back to them and apply for another temporary authorization. So he works for 90 days, and then he spends 120 days reapplying for the next 90 days.
So,
Reapplying for what?
my thing is it's two culverts, you get a crane in there and you pull, I don't understand why it
So-
wouldn't take,
so-
maybe you can explain, I guess to me it seems very simple.
But, well, let me back up. So
Okay, gotcha.
this is the DEEP lawsuit where they're
Gotcha.
cleaning up the property
Right,
on
gotcha.
the rear of New Biggs Way.
Right, I know they're involved,
And as part of that, they're using the culverts to haul the stuff out
right,
rather than out a New Big Road.
I see, okay, that makes
So the
sense.
culverts can't be removed until that project is completed.
Because they're using that, that's the only way they can get across the Farm River and that property, so,
And-
gotcha.
How do we speed the process up? I mean,
Well, that's what I'm saying, and then DeLongo jumped into the email chain and said it wasn't me who held anything up. And I sort of wrote back to DEP and said, well, who did hold this up? Is it my job to,
What did the DEP say?
I haven't heard back.
Oh, so that'd be, well, when you hear back, just shoot us an email, because we're curious to know, because this has been going on a long time.
Well, then he got authorization 2 days ago to start again for 90 days.
Oh.
But his contractor's not ready to get in until August. So he's already gonna have shot 30 of the 90 days.
But I would think that once they get in there, like, it should be that, it really is.
It's not that hard. You just
Yeah,
pick
I
the
mean,
stuff
I understand
up.
you gotta get some there, pull them out, you gotta be careful. I can see a week of, then stabilize the bank, but I
Are we
mean,
talking about two different things?
yeah, I think we're
here?
talking two different things,
Yeah,
because he's got to clean that property out first of
Oh,
the
right.
contamination that's there.
but I was thinking after that is done, maybe I misunderstood. So
So-
is DeLongo doing that, or the cleaning?
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
here's how I see it. As soon as DEP is satisfied and DeLongo is done with that project, everyone's gonna disappear.
Well, we still have
I don't think we have anything on him.
I thought the Farm River study and DEP, besides us, required that the culverts be removed.
We did, but I think somebody else needs to take responsibility should Mr. DeLongo fail to remove them. And if we're putting this all on hold because of a DEP project at this point, maybe DEP should vouch that they will do it if Mr. DeLongo doesn't. Because I think we're gonna be left holding the bag.
Or the town will have to sue to get it done, that's probably, if.
Or
I don't-
the town could do it. It's
Right.
not that big a deal.
Yeah,
It's not that big a deal.
but Deep's gotta let us know when we can do that, right, that's.
Correct. And in the meantime, we have the open space parcel that he's using to access the lot in Totoket Road in limbo because the land trust doesn't want to accept that property until the culverts come out.
Right, because they know.
But they
ATVs
want
are
the
going
property
through
as soon as possible
Right.
because it's an orphan and
Right.
the neighbors are encroaching and people are encroaching and we really need to find somebody to have ownership of that property before it gets more degraded. So I'm working with the land trust, the Friends of the Farm River Estuary, the town attorney, DeLongo's attorney, the land trust's attorney, and DEEP to try to figure this thing out. So
Very good.
my
Well,
goal is to get it done by Thanksgiving
That'd be great.
That would be great.
because
I know
it's
not
a big problem and it's been a problem since the day I got here.
And I forget, like you mentioned, you're juggling about 4 or 5 different, groups that are, they're all trying to work together, but it doesn't, yeah. I
And then
understand.
he doesn't have any, he doesn't have any money, it's just a mess. And there is a bond in place.
There is, okay, that was
I
my
thought
next
there was a
question.
bond,
Yeah, I thought there was a bond, so we're holding that bond, so,
Right, but it's an insurance bond.
Which
And
is
in
that?
insurance bonds, you pay a premium every year to continue the bond.
right.
And if you don't pay the premium, then,
You're saying Mr. DeLongo has to pay that to keep.
Correct.
But that's part of our application and everything. If they don't do that, then they're legally liable. Of course, that trips a whole nother issue. But,
well, I mean, the
Right.
bondholder is still actually liable even if his customer hasn't
right,
paid.
because it's
They're the ones that need to
they're
go
gonna have
back.
to pay one way or another. So they might have to sue DeLongo, but they're gonna pay us to remove those culverts or whatever.
In 20
Whatever.
years after
Gotcha,
they go to
yeah.
court and everything else. So I'm sort of trying to get rid of those insurance bonds and say,
That's the carrot before the
give
horse.
give me cash.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I don't want a surety bond, surety
Now
bond.
now I see what you mean, right,
Yeah,
right.
because it affects
Well,
the
hopefully,
water
you'll get some
flow.
progress, you'll hear from D, and,
Because
maybe
the
we can
that's
get
what
this
we
thing moving.
determine.
If we can get it done by, like you said, Thanksgiving, because it'll be a dry period, in the fall, usually it's a good time to get in there and get those out of there. All right, well, we appreciate.
So it's on the top of my list, but it's hard to make it work.
Well, we appreciate you keeping at it.
In the meantime, they've taken the water chestnuts out of the mill pond.
Oh, good.
Are you aware of that from a conservation
I
commission?
saw that, there was an article, I think, in the Register, I saw it actually, a month ago, if you get the.
I know we had.
They
that
actually
up
showed
there.
an article about, I
It was on the
was.
Sound, right in front of the
Or the
Sound.
Sound, maybe the Sound, I'm sorry, yeah, I get them the same time, yeah, it was, I saw it, I said, wow, there it is, they're doing it, so.
Yeah, they spent 2 days and they're gonna go back again and they've taken out like half, maybe a third of what's there. It's a painstakingly long process.
But it'll improve definitely that area, because it's a beautiful area above the dam, it's a, obviously it's a.
Yeah, and if we
precious
get
wetland.
access through that open space, you
Right.
could put a canoe in there and go
I mean,
paddle
people
around.
fish, people do, it just, but I'm saying the wildlife that are there, it'll improve, especially for the trout and the fish that, make their way, it'll, good,
Thank you, Dave, for doing that.
yes, appreciate it.
I'm working on that. So I have another brand new enforcement issue that I haven't brought any pictures, but 13 and 17 Jers Lane. Jers Lane is just up Forest Road on the left a little bit from here.
Mm-hmm.
And to the north of it is the beginning of the town property that goes all the way up to Public Works and everything else. And there's a little water course
Right.
that defines the northern boundary of all those properties on Jers Lane. Actually, the center line of the brook is their border. And this gentleman at 17 Jers Lane decided that the brook was flooding a little bit too much, and so he's graded all his property and taken all the material that he graded and placed it next to the water course on his next door neighbor's property without permission.
So he basically did about 3 or 4 things wrong. He didn't get a permit. He
He
disturbed the
also,
wetland and disturbed his neighbor's property. Well, he really went for the trifecta.
he also went across the brook and put a little bridge and cleaned out all of the town's property. And is ready
Oh,
to
boy,
take that over.
He's really on a roll. So I assume you are on top of it. If you've spoken to him, I hope.
I have written him a letter explaining what he's done wrong.
And not to, maybe do you think you need a cease and desist, or is he done right now, or is he? Obviously, we don't want him doing more, he doesn't seem.
Well, I mean, you know, the deposition of the materials on the next door neighbor's property is pretty much an easy civil suit for them to be involved in without.
Well, I was wondering how you found this about, what usually it's a neighbor that tells you, was the neighbor that got the stuff dumped on his lawn, was he the one that called you first?
Yeah, well, she's an older lady and she had no idea. And her son comes and cuts the grass once a week, and he came and cut the grass and came back
Oh,
and
we
said,
saw it, okay.
Mom, it's like, and it's like 50 cubic yards. It's 75 feet long and 3 feet high and 4 feet wide. It's not like.
Did you talk to the person, the perpetrator, and what was the excuse? I
Tomorrow.
didn't know my boundaries, I didn't know I had, about what was, he just played dumb? Is that, I mean, that's.
This started yesterday. I'm
Oh,
going to
you're
call
still,
him tomorrow.
gotcha, okay, you're still working on it, obviously, so, all right, well, we appreciate that, and.
So that's my hijinks for enforcement. This would be more of a conservation question.
Oh,
That up at 118 Parsonage Hill Road, there is a subdivision application. There's a 4-lot subdivision up there currently.
That's this right here.
Is that
Is
this
this
one?
No, it's right here.
You're looking at it, okay.
Can you see the road coming in from the top?
Oh, I see, yeah, I turned the wrong way.
It's right here.
Gotcha,
Which road coming in from the top?
It's right here.
gotcha, okay.
So there's four houses there. That's the property that's not completely developed yet.
Correct.
Right.
And they're back in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission
This is the
to
road.
build another
Okay.
8 lots, 7 houses.
Back, is that, so I assume there's
Is this
wetlands
the
back
road?
there, right?
That's the road, yeah.
There are only wetlands at the bottom of the map in this little corner.
Gotcha.
It's all downhill. This is
Yeah.
like a
It's-
steep slope.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And this property at the bottom of the map is town-owned property.
Okay,
It is used by Public Works to like store stuff. And so what he would like to do is, for open space, is to deed this cornfield, hayfield, this lower field
oh, it's all down here?
to somebody, yeah.
Gotcha.
What's the orientation on yours?
Wait a minute, why would somebody just willingly
So this
give
is
up
north.
property? They don't make any more of it.
Right?
As part of a
So I got it
subdivision, you
like
need to
this.
give open
All right, but
space
he's holding
Okay.
it
or pay for
differently.
it,
He's holding it like
10%.
So let me ask
So
you then,
this
would
is
you
the
think
front.
that's a
This is the
reasonable
property
request, that
here.
open space
he
down
wants
there
to
is right, that kind
delete all
of,
this.
that borders the
To
town land,
move.
right?
Correct.
So that's,
Land trust?
that's why, it sounds
This
like it would
isn't
make
part of
sense
it
then,
down
you
No,
would
this is
agree,
where
or?
they're gonna go to the town. he said.
I think it makes sense to actually give it to
that's
the
north.
I
town,
think
Town,
that's part
oh,
of the
okay.
towns already.
because it adjoins the town
It's adjacent to their
space,
property, I know, I
So
agree.
what is this, how many
and it
houses?
could be
There's 4 right now.
utilized
There's
by
4.
These are
Public
shaped.
Works or as a
There's 4.
park
There's
adjacent
1, 2,
to it, or
3.
for municipal, you
I
can
think
use
this is
open
the 4th one
space
right here.
a little bit
So what's the new
creatively if
development
you
being proposed?
Down here.
work at it.
Right.
So
So-
you're basically asking us
Is it-
for an opinion, right, because there's nothing, there's not a,
Is
it's
this
just
one,
how we feel about it?
Yeah,
3, 4?
from a
Gotcha.
conservation
No,
point of
our
view, whether you
conservation
think
act.
it
That I
should
don't
be
know.
preserved as farmland or whether it should be open space. There's no open space really near it.
Is this a town council decision?
How many houses are they trying to put into this? You said 4?
The 4, and then there's gonna be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 more lots.
And they're all what, 2 acres?
This
Do you
is
know?
R40 or R80?
But they're well and septic.
It's
in there.
So
R40,
they're 1 acre lots.
right.
But a 1 acre lot has to have the configuration that you can put a 200 by 200 foot square on it.
150.
When did that happen?
That's what it is. It's 150 foot.
No,
It's 200? Okay,
it's 200.
okay,
I know, I had to give away some land.
okay. 200 foot square.
Okay, yeah.
So there's some rear lots. It doesn't go much further than about here, the development. So all this is
It'll be
gonna be
above
empty
it.
space.
So below below here, or I should say, below here, that's, how much do they wanna deed to the town or give to the town?
It's like,
How many acres?
5 acres?
Oh, okay, so it's kind of a significant piece.
Whose house that is, right?
No,
Oh, I'll tell you afterwards.
okay.
So how does everyone feel about that? It would be this, I guess this parcel right down here, 5 acres.
Would go to
Which,
the
which
town?
part, Steve?
It's this, right, if you turn it this way, see this,
Yeah.
these field cornfields are?
Yeah.
See this part here?
Yeah, because the town's land is right adjacent to it below it.
So this is the town
Yeah,
right below.
so north, where that line is, this would be the piece, the 5 acres there, that they want a recommendation would be, from a conservation. I mean, it'd be nice to keep the property together.
Oh, yeah.
The town can already
That's what you
access the
wanna
other
do.
piece.
And what about this little piece here? Does that go to the town? This little, like, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, it looks like the.
Yeah,
like
that
the-
would be
that go to the
that would be
town too?
part of the open space.
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha, so it'd be
Yeah.
the top here, then that little, so
Yeah.
then that would actually
Looks
complete
like-
that.
So
And that's where the
basically-
wetlands,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
most of the wetlands
So
are in that
basically, the
little spot.
wetlands portion would go to the town.
Well, the rest of it's nice and dry, it's just
But I
this,
mean, yeah, but the drop, I know that, I meant the bottom part, including the wetlands,
Okay.
everything would go to the town, and their property would not have a wetlands impact that they're gonna build on.
correct.
Yeah.
Right, oh, so
Yeah,
right,
they're not
there's
even
nothing-
close
there's
to the
no-
wetlands.
Well, that's good, then
That's
I'd rather
fine.
control.
I'm fine with that.
Because we control, the town controls it, there's no building there, we don't have to deal with an application.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of it from the Conservation Commission hat,
Yeah.
not the wetlands hat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense, especially
That
since
makes
the
sense.
piece is already there with the town, might as well make it one larger piece and, yeah. So if everyone kind of agrees on that concept, would you just like, how would you do it? A motion to, do we actually need a motion or just a recommendation?
I think a recommendation is
We can just,
fine.
as
I mean,
a group, so the agency, if we all agree on that, we recommend that,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
accepting that.
The
open space.
subdivision regulations sort of ask that we go out and poll
Gotcha.
different members of the community in
Bill,
Europe.
We recommend, then we approve that if that's the they wanna take that 5 acres and, yeah, we would support that.
Everything else has to conform to planning and zoning regulations.
Right, we're just kind
It is a bit of a controversial subdivision regulation. The neighbors up there are not happy about anything.
That's understandable. It's always gonna be the case.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but if it's done within our town regulations and, you know.
it was denied back in 2006, the exact same application. And there was a lawsuit after that, and miraculously, it was approved like 5 months later,
So
because I think some lawyers said you're probably gonna lose.
that's interesting. So probably the reason it didn't come from wetlands, there was no wetlands at that time, right? Obviously, the only wetlands are down
Yeah.
here. Okay, because I said I would have remembered that, but, okay, that makes sense. There was no reason to come.
And then they
before us.
never filed the Mylars, and it expired, and then they came back again, they got approved again, and they never filed the Mylars and expired. And they came back for the 4-lot subdivision, and that had some technical problem, and that was denied.
Jeez,
And then
Boy,
they
that was-
came back and it was approved.
I'm glad we never had to see any of those. Glad there's no wetlands.
So it's a bit of a mess.
Gotcha.
May I ask you one more question? And I don't remember when we had the meeting, but it was the meeting that we had in the other room with the attorney there. Did anything come of that property? Remember there was the issue with the way the water flowed and it was going in people's
We
backyard?
have had no activity. I did talk to one of the property owners over there last week, and he asked me if there was any update, and I said no, and he said that he had hired an attorney to represent him, and he was doing whatever civil action he wanted to do, but the owner of that property has not decided to make any land use application
Okay,
at this point.
I was just curious.
I've suggested that they may want to do a few things prior to applying, but he doesn't want to do that.
Well, you can only give them sound advice, doesn't have to take it, I guess. All right, anything else, David, you want to share with us, or are we ready for adjournment?
No, I think that's good. They are just starting to build on that property on Foxen Road. They poured the foundation at the end of Foxen Road where the wetlands are in the back. We made them
Oh, they
restore the
demolished
wetlands.
the house, yeah, yes, I do see them. I've
So
seen that.
he will be starting to,
Near Agway, you remember the one up, that
Oh.
they redirected the stream a couple of years ago, and we had to stop everything, it was. it's
Oh,
like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you go-
yeah.
If you're going, if you're going to
Yeah,
Agway, it's on the right, just before
Just
you.
before the hidden.
Yeah.
The hidden kitchen.
The hidden, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I had to think about that too, I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
I
so,
saw the
I mean, I drove by that yesterday and I saw like it's almost a level playing field in there now, of fresh dirt. But where did they actually redirect the stream to? Because the stream came down and went towards the hidden kitchen, Chinese restaurant, all that stuff over there. It went towards that, and then it went down along the property line to Route 80. Is that where it's going now?
yeah.
Okay, because when we addressed it, they had it coming right down, basically to the house.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I'm trying to remember, yeah, I remember it was pretty
basically to
graphic
the
what they did
house.
back there, yeah.
And so that's,
It's very close to the house. The wetlands are very close to the house, but the actual channel is another 8 feet
So I
away.
remember the
Now,
base of the
see-
whole
see-
backyard is wetland soil,
I-
even,
I mean, originally, that channel was nowhere near 8 feet to the house. Originally, it was 30 feet away.
Well, it would be on somebody else's property.
No, it went right to the woods line
and then went down to Route 80.
and
if
went
I
down to
remember,
Route
yeah.
80,
That I-
way back
But-
before you
Oh,
ever came
okay.
down to the
But-
house.
But
It
the
went-
channel down to Route 80, that, I stayed there, they just redirected it through the backyard, right? Isn't that the way I remember
Yeah,
it? Like,
yeah.
they didn't go all the way
And
on Route 80 and destroy it, they just messed around, but remember, I think they pulled right from in the back, I remember that, when they went in the back on, you know, they just dug it out.
Well, they
Basically, new
changed
channel.
everything because they went in there and they cut down massive number
Right.
of trees, big trees,
Yeah.
without permission, and,
I mean, they did a lot of, it was a big mess there.
yeah,
so
it
we-
was a real big mess, but, you know, the water channel was nowhere near where the house was. And prior to all that, it was pretty dry by the house, but when they got done with their work, the whole place was a swamp.
Well, they grow weeds in that yard like there's no tomorrow, I'll tell you
What,
that.
they using it for a leaf dump?
But
Did you say leaves?
the weeds,
Oh,
there's
weeds.
They
like,
just naturally, they just grow now.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of dry moisture there, it's like, yeah, it's probably.
so I mean, all the wetland plantings are there in the back, but there are also just a ton of weeds and
Yeah.
It's kind of grown up around it.
And are they planning on doing, what are they planning on doing at this point with the property? They building a structure?
so building a storefront and an apartment above it.
A storefront in an apartment?
I remember that was
That's
basically
good.
was
That's just
approved
what-
on that.
That's what we need.
Well,
Just what we need, a little strip mall with,
Most still store probably. He was gonna do something with eBay ship packages, but that's probably not what it is.
Yeah, but,
okay.
all right.
No problems from the next door neighbor, the chicken lady?
No, she took his shed though.
She took what?
She took his shed,
Down?
yeah, moved it onto her property.
Oh, well, she got some out of the deal then, I guess. I guess
Whatever it
maybe,
takes to make the peace.
maybe he did that to kind of, yeah, as a peace offering, but you know what?
I said, there was a shed on the site plan, it was right here. He goes, oh yeah, it's over there.
So he knew about it, she didn't just take it in the middle of the night, he obviously agreed to.
Cheryl
Yeah,
Barnett.
yes, I remember she came on the site walk there, but. All right, well, good,
All right.
hopefully it works out. All right, then I guess if there's nothing else, do we have a motion to
I'll
adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.